Raiders fans, big news. If you're a true Raiders fan, then you're going to want to hear this. Huge updates are coming your way about the Raiders' upcoming draft, and one name is creating a lot of buzz: Arman Mu, the offensive tackle. There's been talk for a while now that the Raiders might pick a running back in the first round of the draft, but hold up, Arman Mu could be the surprise pick instead. Sounds crazy? Well, I wouldn't be too shocked. Here's why. Since the Raiders brought in Spytek, it's clear this new team loves offensive linemen. If I had the choice, I'd pick Arman Mu at number 6. His name has been popping up everywhere lately, and I've been hearing more and more about him over the last 24 hours. I know some of you might be thinking, who is Arman Mu? If you haven't heard of him yet, you're probably not following the right sources. But don't worry, I've got you covered. In fact, shout out to all the die-hard Raiders fans who've been sending me DMs and messages about this. I saw that Schefter dropped a bomb about Arman Mu possibly being the pick. And you know what? Where there's smoke, there's fire. But could this just be a smokescreen to throw off the competition? Well, stick with me because I'm going to give you a fresh take on this situation. Before we dive in, if you want to stay up to date on all things Raiders, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the latest news. Let's move on and break down why this Arman Mu rumor could actually be true. Why Arman Mu to the Raiders makes sense. So, let's talk about Arman Mu and why he might be the perfect fit for the Las Vegas Raiders. The buzz around this pick is growing, and it's not just because of rumors. Schefter's report has added some serious legitimacy to the idea. Plus, other sources are starting to point to the Raiders' interest in Arman Mu, the Missouri offensive tackle. I'll admit, this isn't the first time I've heard Arman Mu's name thrown out there, but now there's some real weight behind it. One of the sources, Tony Pauline, has been talking about how the Raiders could seriously consider Mu at pick number 6. While you've probably seen many mock drafts predicting the Raiders will go for a running back, Pauline is saying the team could take Mu instead. Why? Well, with Spytek as the new general manager, the need to strengthen the offensive line is huge. Spytek's success with Tampa Bay, especially with offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs, makes it clear that Mu could be his top choice. Some believe Mu might even be the first offensive lineman drafted, ahead of players like Will Campbell from LSU. Now, I've been saying for months that Arman Mu is the top offensive lineman in this year's draft. His potential is undeniable, and his connection to Spytek's past success just adds more fuel to this fire. When you look at the timing of all this, especially with the interview Spytek did for the Raiders, you start to see a clear picture forming. In that interview, Spytek said, "Big boys win games," and that's exactly what he wants for the Raiders: a solid, powerful offensive line to dominate the trenches. Spytek's approach is simple: build strong in the trenches, and you'll win games. It's clear that Arman Mu could be the missing piece for the Raiders' future success. Why winning in the trenches is key for the Raiders. When it comes to football, winning in the trenches is everything. Spytek, the Raiders' new general manager, firmly believes this, and he's made it clear in his interviews. No matter what level you're playing at, if your offensive and defensive lines aren't strong, you're not going to win many games. Spytek knows this from his own experience, especially with his Michigan teams that were built with powerful lines. He's all about the trenches, and here's the thing: Spytek played alongside Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. We all know Brady's mindset on building from the lineup, so it's no surprise that Spytek feels the same way. If Arman Mu is the player Spytek believes can help build this foundation for the Raiders, then drafting him at pick number 6 makes a lot of sense. In one of his interviews, Spytek said, "It is who I am to my core." When you hear someone speak with that level of conviction, you know they believe it down to their bones. Spytek's core belief is that winning the battle in the trenches leads to success. And that's why, even though running back Ashton Jeanty is an amazing talent, without a solid offensive line, that talent won't shine as it should. Spytek's success in Tampa Bay, where he helped build a Super Bowl winning team with Tom Brady, shows he knows how to build a winning formula. His mindset and results speak for themselves. If he can replicate that success with the Raiders, Arman Mu could be the key to unlocking a bright future for the team. Why Arman Mu could be the Raiders' future. Let's talk about Arman Mu and why he could be the key to the Raiders' future. When you look at Tristan Wirfs and his success in Tampa Bay, it's hard not to draw comparisons to Mu. The truth is, both have similar qualities that make them stand out in the NFL. But did you know something interesting? Arman Mu shares a very rare trait with some of the best offensive linemen in history. Here's a cool stat. Arman Mu, Tristan Wirfs, Will Campbell, and Trent Williams are the only 4 players in NFL history who were over 315 pounds, had a vertical jump of over 30 inches, and ran a sub-5-second 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. That's impressive. It's not just about strength, it's about agility, speed, and power. Traits that make Arman Mu a potential game-changer for the Raiders. This isn't just about physical numbers, though. If you're John Spytek, you're thinking about replicating the success you've had in the past. In Tampa Bay, Spytek helped build a championship-caliber team with an offensive line that dominated in every aspect. Now, if the Raiders can do something similar with Arman Mu leading their offensive line, they could be setting themselves up for long-term success. Why Arman Mu could be the Raiders' next big move. When you compare Arman Mu to Tristan Wirfs, there's no doubt they're both incredible athletes. But if you're looking to build a future-winning offensive line for the Raiders, why wouldn't you go for a player who's almost as good, or even better? NFL.com's Lance Zierlein, one of the most respected voices in the business, gave Tristan Wirfs a grade of 6.48 when he was drafted, which is extremely high. But here's the kicker. Arman Mu received a 6.49. That's even better. For Raiders fans, this might be a surprising name, but if you follow John Spytek and the Raiders closely, this report from Adam Schefter shouldn't come as a shock. Spytek has always emphasized the importance of a strong offensive line, and his focus on building in the trenches could be the perfect reason why Arman Mu is such a strong contender at pick number 6. Over the past week, the Raiders' talk about the offensive line has only grown louder. Spytek has made it clear that he values solid offensive line play, and last week, when asked about DJ Glaze and the team's overall line, he praised Glaze's potential and said, "We have 9 picks, and y'all know I love offensive line." This shows how much the Raiders' front office values the line, and Arman Mu fits perfectly into that vision. Now, when I first saw the report about Arman Mu, part of me thought, wow, this could be huge. But another part of me thought, maybe this is the perfect opportunity to trade back. If the Raiders can still secure Mu by trading down a few spots, that could be a win for everyone involved. Could the Raiders really trade back and still get Arman Mu? If Adam Schefter's leaking this report, you can bet it's causing a stir. But here's the thing. John Spytek might be playing the game to his advantage. If there's a run on offensive tackles, the Raiders might be able to trade back, still secure Arman Mu, and gain extra picks in the process. Here's where it gets interesting. If I'm a team looking to trade back, I'm all in on this strategy. The Raiders could still grab Arman Mu, or even someone like Ashton Jeanty, but only if the trade happens before the Chicago Bears at number 10. The more teams start thinking that Mu is going to be off the board at number 6, the better the Raiders' chances of securing more picks by trading back. The more rumors that swirl about Mu, the more the Raiders can leverage that interest. But let's be honest, this could all be smoke and mirrors. Every year, there's chatter around the NFL draft that's designed to throw teams off. Could the Mu hype just be a strategy to get more teams interested in trading up? Maybe. After all, when Schefter drops a report, it doesn't just stay with him. Other insiders, like Tony Pauline, tend to follow suit. But that's part of the game. Another reason why the Raiders could consider trading back. Offensive tackle-needy teams are right behind them in the draft, and the New York Jets are one of them. The Jets need help at right tackle, and the Raiders pick just ahead of them at number 6. If the Raiders can convince teams that Mu is the guy they want, the Jets, or another team, might be willing to make a trade to jump ahead. With a quarterback class that's seen better days, teams are looking to secure key positions like offensive tackle to ensure their future success. Could the Raiders be using the Arman Mu hype to trade back? When you look at teams like the New York Jets, San Francisco 49ers, and Miami Dolphins, there's one thing they all need: an offensive tackle. With no clear quarterback prospect to trade up for this season, it might just be the offensive tackles that teams are willing to trade up for. This could work in the Raiders' favor, especially if they play their cards right. What does this mean for the Raiders at pick number 6? There's a real possibility that teams in need of a top-tier offensive tackle could try to move up, which would give the Raiders a chance to trade back and gain extra picks. The more buzz that builds around Arman Mu, the better the Raiders' position becomes if they're looking to trade down and still pick up valuable talent later. Now, here's where things get tricky. Despite all the hype around Mu possibly landing with the Raiders, I'm starting to wonder if it's all just smoke. I've been saying for months that I want the Raiders to pick Mu at number 6, but there's something about the Raiders regime that makes me question if relationships could play a bigger role in this decision. For those who've been following the Raiders closely, you'll remember how important relationships were under former leadership. Whether it was trades or free agent signings, everything had a connection. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler made moves based on existing relationships. But when you look at Arman Mu, the Raiders didn't meet with him at the NFL Combine, his pro day, or even bring him in for a top 30 visit. So who did they meet with? Will Campbell. The Raiders had multiple interactions with him, at the Combine and with a top 30 visit. While I think Mu has more potential than Campbell, the Raiders' lack of meetings with Mu raises some red flags. As of now, if I were to place a bet, I'd say Will Campbell has a better chance to land with the Raiders. Yes, Mayo is a better prospect, but without the face-to-face interaction, I'm skeptical. This report, released just before the draft, could very well be the Raiders' way of stoking interest in Mu, to prompt a trade-up from another team. But let's be clear. If the Raiders do end up drafting Arman Mu, and they decide to build their team around the trenches, it's going to be a wild celebration on this show. You can bet on it.